Hi everybody, welcome to Mobility Monday. My name is Bart Hawkinson, physical therapist at Therapeutic Associates, Northlake Physical Therapy. Today I'm going to talk about something that's pretty important to me personally, which is core stability for weightlifting and strength training. A little personal history is I've got some lower back issues. I had a bicycle accident about 10 years ago, and I've got a little residual stuff going on from that. And I don't want to let that interfere with my life. So I still love lifting weights. I still love being active. I love skiing, doing all these things that, backpacking that involves pretty heavy loads. So I don't want to stop lifting heavy, even though I've got this history. So one of the things that I do on a very regular basis is that I maintain some core stability. I'm going to take you through a few of my favorite exercises for that today. All right, so before we dive into the exercises, we're going to start out with a little relevant anatomy. And one of the things I hear a lot of times in the clinic is, hey, I'm here to see you for this back issue. I know we're going to talk about core stability, but I'm really strong. I can deadlift, I can squat, I can do all this stuff. Great, yeah, me too. The important thing to keep in mind is in the human body, we have two levels of muscles. In the clinic, we refer to them as our movers and our stabilizers. So when we hear the term core stability, that word, core stability, that has sort of come to mean a lot of things, but really what we mean when we dial it down is those are our stabilizers. They're small muscles along the spine that help keep the spine, hold the spine in neutral position. And it's separate from maybe our six-pack ab muscles or the large muscles in the back that we would use if we were lifting something heavy. So if we're looking at the spine, we're really focusing in on three key muscles, and there's a lot more detail. You could pretty much spend a career diving into this muscle region here, but just taking the broad overview, the muscles that we know from the literature to be very important are, one, your transverse abdominis, and this is a muscle in the front, kind of wrapping around here, and it's several levels deep below the muscles that you can see. So the muscle fibers run this way, and effectively think of it as it helps to support your trunk and your low back from the front, kind of like putting on a belt or a corset. The second muscle group supports everything from the bottom up, and we refer to that as the pelvic floor. We could go into a lot more detail, but for the purpose of this, thinking of that as a muscle group that just lifts everything from the bottom up, creates support in there. Everybody has large pelvic floor muscles, very important in all people. Final muscle group that we're interested in is muscle group that's called the multifidus. These are small muscles. They're kind of fingers in the low back. They're deep below those large muscles, those backstrap muscles you can feel, and they're super important in creating stability. We also know that when we injure the back, those muscles have a tendency to atrophy. So very important for stability, also very important to focus on them if they have been injured in the past. So keeping those muscle groups in mind, that's going to be our focus for today. And the other key concept that most people have probably at least heard of is this idea of neutral spine. So if we look at the human spine, we can see that there's a little bit of a lumbar curve. Right. Too much curve, excessive lordosis is no good. Obviously, going the other way into a slouched, slumped position is no good either. So neutral is that midpoint. It's that maintaining that slight lumbar curve and then engaging the muscles around it to lock that curve in so everything's stable in that position. We're going to start into our exercise program. Got my mat set up here, so we'll be down on the ground for these. But key component here is going to be focusing on that neutral spine through the whole position. So I've got that slight curve. I'm not going to allow myself to go into excessive lordosis. I'm not going to go into an excessive flat back position either, but maintaining that slight curve through the whole program. So exercise number one, sometimes we call this the dead bug. I'm going to get into that position where I'm going to find that neutral spine, so slight curve to my low back. I bring my legs up and arms up, and I'm going to maintain that position as I bring one arm overhead and extend the other leg. Good. And this is called the full dying bug position. If I need to scale this down, if I can't maintain that neutral spine position, I can scale it down a little bit by starting with both feet on the ground, and I'll bring one leg up and the opposite arm overhead. Again, maintaining that neutral spine through the whole thing. key piece to this is we're going to engage our muscles through these. One way to do this is what's called a Kegel contraction. So it's squeezing as if you're trying to stop yourself going to the bathroom. So if you do that, you'll feel a little firmness through your lower abdominals. So you do this. So for example, I'm going to engage, feel a little firmness through my abdominals, legs are up. A little challenging here, but now I'm into that neutral. Yep. And then one arm and opposite leg up overhead, and then back, and then back down. Now, key thing with these is our muscles are meant to move, so I don't want to hold these static for long periods of time. If I can do several repetitions, okay, but I don't want to just squeeze and hold. I like to engage and release, engage and release. So I'll find that neutral, I'm up, I'm going to do, oops, crossed up there, repetition there, repetition there. I'll kind of relax, reset, repetition through there, off to the other side. I always find it's better to go through that process of engage and relax, even if it means starting from the floor. So I may engage, come up, there, back down, reset. Especially as you're learning this, resetting those core muscles each time is really important. As you do it with a little bit more proficiency, you can do a few repetitions in a row, maybe 20 seconds worth, 30 seconds worth, 5, 10 repetitions. But being very mindful, when you're done with that set, to let everything relax. It's important to relax as well as it is to engage. Next exercise we'll move into, I'm going to roll onto my side and going after lateral stability and hip stability into what we call a clamshell. I'm going to keep my hips lined one over the other. I'll go into that process again of engaging the deep core muscles, and then I'm going to bring one leg up. Now, I can only go so high with this, and that's limited by my hip flexibility. Some people might be able to go a little further than others, but if we go too far, we'll start to rock through the spine, which is no good. So I'm going to maintain one hip stacked right on the other. Hand is here to self-assess. I'll engage the core, leg up, back down, relax. Engage, leg up, back down, relax, repeat. Okay. Next thing we'll move into here is calling the clinic a bird dog exercise. So again, I'm going to find that neutral spine position. Most of my weight is back onto my legs. I should be fairly light through my hands here. I'll engage, keeping everything really still through my back. Raise one arm and leg up. And it's not about necessarily getting the arm and leg high, because then I lose my neutral in my back. But just as far as I can go based on my shoulder and my hip mobility, not trying to force it. It's more important to just get on one arm and the other leg and keep things neutral and still than it is focusing on height. So we don't want to be worried about that. Okay, relax, re-engage, arm and leg up, back down, relax, re-engage, going through that process again. Okay. Final thing we'll move into, and I personally find this to actually be the most physically challenging of them, is moving into a single leg bridge. So again, I'm going to engage the core muscles here. Leg comes up. I'm going to find a good 90-degree angle through here, or maybe slightly greater than 90. Now, the leg that I'm on here, my weight is onto the heel. I don't want to be pushing through the front of my foot. I want to be lifting up through my heel, which is going to engage my hip and hamstring in addition to my core, and back down. Okay. Relax, reset, lift. Again, when you're just starting out with these, I find it super important to go through that process of engaging and relaxing between each repetition, or at least each couple repetitions. And then, of course, switching to the other side. Good. All right. So these, when they're done right, they really should not be big, powerful, aggressive exercises. They're very much focusing on stability, small picture muscles. So you shouldn't really get, very, very sore with these. They shouldn't be very physically challenging. It's more of a coordination. It's almost more mental than physical in a way. But definitely focusing on good control. You should be able to do a fair amount of repetitions. Practice really does help with these. So, starting out with, doing 2 to 3 rounds of 10 of each of those is okay. That last one, the single leg bridge, maybe a little bit less since that does pull in the hamstrings a bit more. All right, so today we talked about some of my favorite core stability exercises to help supplement a strength training program. Again, for me, as a personal example, I get in the gym fairly frequently, a few times a week, and I still supplement that gym training with these core exercises. There's tons and tons of good core exercises out there. These are 3 that I like because it hits on the muscles from different angles, which is important to give it different demands. And they're simple. They don't require any equipment. You can do them anywhere, even if you're traveling. So simple things. Again, some key concepts with these is find that neutral spine. You don't want to be getting into like an excessive arch. You don't want to be excessively flat back. Really important, and especially when you're learning, to not try to hold these static throughout the whole thing. That can create, can be ineffective and create its own set of problems, but to focus on engage and relax. That way that you're getting the proper muscle firing. And then consistency, I do these all the time. I've been doing them for years. They're not super physically hard to do, but they're really important and supplemental. So hope you guys enjoy these. They're great to integrate in for lots and lots of people out there. And keep moving.